You can bet China will be back in the headlines for your trading week ahead. We've got all the details with Wayne Arnold, Breaking View strategist. Wayne, thanks for coming out. China PMI this week, a bit of a disappointment. You actually saw it coming. Next week, trade data. Where are we heading?
Right. Well, China's become a little predictable in that sense. We know the domestic economy is slowing down, but watch out now. The external sector is also going to be the second leg to drop out of the table. Global growth is not doing great. Europe is falling. We've seen Korean exports, Japanese exports, and Taiwan exports perform the same way. That's going to happen to China now, too, and it's going to be another problem. And what they'll have to do is try to find ways to compensate. Right,
so stimulus, as Wayne's hinted at.
Yeah, it's dangerous for China because they don't want to sort of move the economy back into its imbalance stage, but what they're going to have to do is open up the spigots a little bit. And so we might see an improvement in bank lending because the banks are under orders to start pumping some cash in the economy. You might actually even see an improvement in industrial production as they try to rev up the economy.
All right, we'll see a boost everywhere. Hopefully not property, I guess. But let's move to Australia, where we've got Samsung and Apple slugging it out in the next stage of their global battle here.
It's kind of like the World Cup of smartphones, right? I mean, they're just battling out in 10 different jurisdictions, and this is only one. It's a small market, so there's not much at stake there. But what they clearly are trying to do is lay out the legal argument that will work in other jurisdictions. It'll take months to get a decision, but that's the thing to watch for is, what are their claims against each other? They've gone mano a mano in Australia. They've done it in the UK. Now, we know that the UK thinks that Samsung's not cool, but that doesn't really matter. Apple's strategy here has to just be to sort of slow down the product juggernaut that Samsung has going until they can launch their new product, the iPhone 5, get that out, generate a lot of excitement, and just drag Samsung down so they can't take any more market share away in those emerging markets.
One market where neither Samsung nor Apple has a lot of market share is Indonesia. The BlackBerry's still big there. We've got GDP data coming out and a rate decision as well.
Yeah, Indonesia's a bright spot in Asia now. I mean, economically speaking, you wouldn't know it by looking at the stock market because it was last year's sort of, flavor of the month, and so
I think it's the worst
flavor of the year
this year.
There's been a little bit of a backlash against some policy missteps they've had, and because the economies are slowing, generally investors are sort of moving out of Southeast Asian stocks and moving into Southeast Asian bonds to try to get those yields as treasuries go down and the global growth starts to cool. But Indonesia is actually interesting because it's not so heavily geared to the export sector in the global cycle. It tends to kind of just stumble along through these sort of situations. So they could still get 6.5% GDP growth, no problem.
Rates at a record low. Are they going to stay that way?
Yeah, I think inflation's under control. I don't think they need to cut rates like a lot of Asian policymakers, but they don't need to raise them. So they can just let the global economy do the work for them on inflation and just soldier on.
There you go. Wayne Arnold, thanks so much.